In 2024, CO2 from transportation reached at least 8.4 gigatons, which is 16% of all human emissions. It's no surprise we have problems with global warming when we're releasing so much CO2 into the atmosphere. Now, most people think the solution for this is simply electric cars because they're green, right? But are they? EVs aren't truly green, and I'm going to break it down. EVs don't actually produce zero emissions. Although the EVs themselves are quote unquote green and aren't producing any CO2 from driving simply, they produce more emissions when they're being produced on the factory line, and they produce a lot of emissions specifically from demining and refining to make their batteries, because EV batteries are usually powered by mainly cobalt and or lithium and some other refined chemicals and metals, and these take a lot of energy to refine, and basically all of the mines getting them are fully coal powered on using fossil fuels till this day. So really, they're just moving all the emissions further up the line, which doesn't sound any better than what we have now, and might even be worse in my opinion. Now, EVs are also way less efficient, despite technically having better energy to power efficiency, as in the amount of energy that's in a battery is almost the same as the amount that actually gets put. Because EV batteries are so much heavier than the engines in gas cars, they still have worse mile ranges and need to be refueled more. So what's the point of an EV that's quote unquote more efficient if it can't even drive as far and needs to be refueled with more electricity, which right now is still mostly sourced from fossil fuels, which just undoes whatever work it creates by not making smog as it drives. And EVs just are simply terrible when it comes to anything that's long distance or heavy weight, which is why EVs don't make sense for planes, for trains, nor for trucks. And as if all these issues weren't bad enough, EVs are also ethically wrong. A lot of the cobalt, which is the main chemical for most batteries nowadays, including those used in Tesla, GM, and Volkswagen's cars, are produced from child slave labor in the DRC. So these are children that are enslaved in Congo to produce the cobalt. That's where 70% of the cobalt comes from. So almost all the cobalt and batteries are being made and mined by children against their will in inhumane conditions. So as if the efficiency and the emissions aren't bad enough, it's also just immorally wrong and undefendable. And on top of this, EVs just produce a lot more pollution down the line. The batteries produce a bunch of toxic waste and often cause deforestation. Less than 5% of batteries actually get recycled because it's so difficult to recycle EV batteries, and any EV battery that catches on fire is essentially going to produce toxic waste without much being done to it. And they have much higher disposal emissions after the cars are undrivable than gas cars. So looking at all this, it's pretty obvious that we definitely need a different solution for transportation. And you might start to believe that such a solution, such an energy source doesn't exist because gas already has known issues and EVs now also have so many issues. So maybe there just isn't a green energy source and we should all just start biking? This fuel source does exist, and I'm going to prove it to you using some baking soda water, a little bit of electricity, and some science magic. Now here's how it works. The electricity is produced at this little hand crank, and we get a positive and negative electricity. Now the positive side we can ignore that because that's where the oxygen is going to be. But at that negative steel electrode, we're going to see H2 hydrogen gas forming. And some of that gas is going to flow into this little tubing all the way into our test tube. Okay, that's cool and all, but what does that actually mean? Well, using a more efficient version of this simple electrolysis system, that uses better electrodes, actual renewable energy that isn't hand cranked, like solar, and some other more complex industrial bits, we can produce hydrogen that's fully green, that can go into fuel cells and power a true green transportation. And that's why hydrogen is just better for a green transportation future that we need.